Welcome back to Crazy Dave's Crew. I'm Laura, and you're watching Thursday Threads. This week, I want to revisit the poppy. My husband and I had already just talked about that. You know, it's a great block, but he was like, it's kind of big. So I'd already been thinking about trying to get the math and thinking about how to make it smaller when I had a viewer make that same suggestion. So great minds think alike. So let's see what we can do and about making this poppy block. Let's shrink it down to a couple different sizes and see what we get. The basic procedure is going to be the same. I have my different size blocks with proportioned backgrounds. And I'm just going to go through and sew the seam just like I did with the larger squares. The method doesn't change. The only thing I've changed is the size of the blocks. Now what's left is to square it up. This is the block that I started with 5.5 inch of my main color, and then 3 inch of my background and 3 inch of my center. And that is going to give me a 10.5 inch block. Now, we're not going to measure starting on this side. We always, when it's something where it's a very specific center, and you want it to be proportioned, equal on each side, I want to try to find my center. So if this is 10.5 inches, that means I have 5.25 and 5.25. So I'm going to want to try to make sure that I've got my 5.25 line on my ruler, on my square here. So I've got 5.25 this way, and then I also want to get 5.25 that way. As best as I can. So I'm at 5.25 going this way on the seam line, and I'm at 5.25 going up and down. So now we're just going to square it up. There's two sides. And again, 5.25 up and down, 5.25 left to right. Oh, need to put it that way. There we go. And before I start slicing, double check and make sure. I think I'm good. And there is my 10.5 inch for my flower, where I started with a 4.5 inch petal and a 2.5 inch background and 2.5 inch center. This is going to give me an 8.5 inch block. So again, I'm going to want to go in 4.25. And I can use either one of these, will be just fine, because I can go 4.25 there. And it'll take some adjusting, so I prefer to use a bigger one. But if that's all you've got, then you can, make do. But I want 4.25. So there's my 4. The red is my 4.5. So I have 4.25 from left to right. and 4 1/4 up and down. And we'll square this up. And again. So there's 4 1/4. And it's matching really nicely here at my 8 1/2 mark. And now I have a poppy that's 8 1/2 inches. For my square, for my poppy flower, where I started with a 3 1/2 inch petal and a 2-inch background and 2-inch center, this is going to be, can y'all guess? You got it, it's a 6 1/2 inch square. And this is a perfect 6 1/2 inch. So I want 3 1/4 up and down. And 3 1/4 left to right. All right, fingers are not wanting to work here today. There we go, 3 1/4 left to right. Three 1/4 up and down. So 3 1/4, 3 1/4. And we've got 6 1/2. Now what makes this one fun for me, the poppy that we started with, the 12 1/2 inch block, you could do 4 of these to make a block. So you could have this and then have a set of 4 next to it. So there's a lot of what you can do with that. Now, how did I come up with my numbers? You have the 6 1/2, get 5 1/2, 4 1/2 inch petals, and then 3 1/2 inch petals. And I wanted to make sure I kept everything proportionate. Well, when I first made the poppy block, we had the 6 1/2 inch square, and then our background was 3 1/2 inches, which makes it 7. So I wanted my background and my centers, when put together, to be a 1/2 inch bigger than my square. So I have a 5 1/2 inch square, and then I have my background material. That's 3 and 3, so that's 6, 1/2 inch bigger. My 4 1/2 inch square, I have 2 1/2 and 2 1/2, which makes 5. It's a 1/2 inch bigger than my square. My 3 1/2, I'm going to want my background and my centers to be 1/2 inch bigger than that. So 4. 2 and 2 is 4. So that was actually a lot of fun. And I am very happy that I did this. Like I said, for if no other reason than I know I can take my big squares and I can jazz it up a little bit on my quilt by using maybe have a large square, here and there, but then have the little ones to be like a 4-patch in there with it. This is such a fun block. Lots of versatility, so many options, so many varieties that you can do. Once you get the hang of it, it's pretty easy. The hardest part is just trying to make sure your centers, your flower centers, can match up as best as you can. And you can see on this one, I didn't quite make it there. But I'm okay with it because I think it still looks good. The proportion of my petals is still good. And that's what you want to look for. Well, I hope that you have found this to be enjoyable, entertaining, maybe a little educational. I love finding new ways of doing blocks. I like finding different varieties, different, all the different flavors that you can do. There is no limit to what you can do with what you're making. We could even make this even smaller if we wanted to. We could make these blocks to be 2.5 inches. And then our background and our center would be 1.5 inches each. So we could even make them even smaller. I had a great time with this. I really love how this little one, when you put 4 of them together, will match up with the big one. So talk about the possibilities that you can have for your top. But I hope you have enjoyed this video. Be sure to subscribe and like, please. And let me know what you think. We like the comments. Check us out on Facebook at Sewing and Crocheting for Beginners group. Also the Crazy Dave's Crew page. You can also find us on the web of www.cdcrew.com. We would love to see pictures for us to be inspiring each other. 'Cause when we see pretty fabric and we see pretty designs, we get inspired and we want to create more. And I find the more I do, the more I want to do. I don't know if y'all like that or not, but I had a lot of fun. I learned something and I'm actually very proud of myself. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and we will see you next time right here on Crazy Dave's Crew.